All right, so night two of SummerSlam started off with Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley versus Naomi for the Women's World Championship. Best thing about this, Naomi, proceed with caution. You know, Naomi's one of my girls too. Naomi came out and came out played by her dad. Her dad was on the guitar, played her out to the ring. If you know anything about Naomi, you know she's got a music background. When she was gone, she would do side projects. She's been to dancing. She's always been into creative arts. So having her dad play her out to SummerSlam on the biggest stage while she's champion was absolutely incredible. I thought it was amazing, representation, seeing her dad out there, shout out to Black fathers, you already know. And then just seeing her have a good time, like being at the top of her career, the top of her run, being able to share that moment with her family, I thought was everything. And it just made it super special. She even got to talk about it in the post-match show. It was just, it was everything. Now, coming to the match, this match was not WrestleMania 41, and that's okay. We saw magic with WrestleMania 41 with Bianca, Io, and Rhea. This match, Rhea and Io, of course, they stood out. Naomi kind of did more so of the heel tactic things, trying to avoid them and sneak in and get her shots in when she could, playing up in her role. And Rhea Ripley had this match won several times, but that's the story that they're telling because it's like Rhea can't beat Io Sky. And when she's in the match with Io Sky, she ain't getting that dub. And that losing streak continues. But Naomi, as the champion, what I like is they had her pin Rhea Ripley. They had her do it with the roll up, grabbing the tights. Rhea was shocked, but at the same time, it's like it's a triple threat match. There's no rules, there's no disqualification, so you kind of can't be upset. I love that Naomi retained because again, Naomi's my girl. Shout out to you, Trinity. And so do have biases. I know everybody loves Rhea Ripley. But Rhea Ripley was on top for a very long time with that championship. Io Sky, she did great things for that Women's World Championship as well. Like my pseudo mentor Solid Monster says, I hope that if anything, I'm not worried about Rhea Ripley. I'm not worried about Naomi right now because she's champion. Io Sky, I hope that they find something that's meaningful for her because she's the one that it would be easy to like get lost in limbo, but also the Kabuki Warriors are still around. So who knows if they can do that and match them up again. But Io is one of the best that they have in that entire division. So there's a reason why she's positioned at the top. Hopefully they can keep those things interesting. And then now Naomi is going to go on to face Stephanie Fakir or as Naomi says, Stephanie Fakir. She's gonna go on to face her at Clash in Paris at the end of the month. So that's our new program. We'll see what happens on Monday Night Raw between them. Next on the match card, we have a TLC six team TLC match. The Dudley Boys came back and the Hardys, they put the camera to both of them in honor of the very first TLC match that was done at SummerSlam in 2000, 25 years ago. Four of the six members of that original TLC match were there in the audience. Obviously, Edge and Christian or Christian Cage are in AEW right now, but I thought this was a very nice touch. Oh my gosh, it was Motor City Machine Guns, Andrade and Ray Phoenix. Oh my gosh, Wyatt Sicks, Street Profits, DIY, and Fraxium, all in this match. The match was straight chaos. You have 12 bodies in there. It's just anarchy. If you like car crashes and demolition derbies, this match is for you. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Craziest spots in here was freaking oh my gosh, Axiom doing a Spanish fly to Angelo Dawkins from in the ring off a ladder to the outside through tables. It's like I love a Spanish fly. That Spanish fly is one of the best moves in pro wrestling to me, especially when they're done correctly. And that was insane. Also, Candice LeRae almost died. And now it sounds like I'm exaggerating because Candice LeRae's taken some crazy bumps in her career. This probably wasn't even the sickest, but Johnny Gargano inadvertently pushed the ladder because he was hit into the ladder while Candice LeRae was trying to help DIY and got pushed over and fell through a ladder that was on the outside. It looked brutal and Johnny Gargano didn't even stop to save his wife. He looks over to the crowd and looks and sees his wife in distress and gets a signal from her and is like, Are you good?" and, he tries to go back up and climb the ladder. It was like he chose the championships, he chose the tag titles over his wife. And I just want people to know. You think you know somebody. Oh man. But you see in those moments, I was out with somebody and some people have the philosophy that's like, I'm gonna let you do what you want to do to see what you would rather do. When a woman tells you that I'm gonna see what you would rather do, that is a clear sign. It's like you can do what you want, but when you do something I don't like, I'm exiting. I'm exit left. So don't take marital advice or actions from Johnny Gargano because you know it may not work out for you that well in the end. And they didn't even end up winning the match. At the end of the day, Wyatt Sicks ended up retaining. The crowd kind of was booing them, but they also was like, they gave kind of like that the complimentary applause after the fact. And so, shout out to Wyatt Sicks. I know that they're huge fan favorites for a lot of people. Not always my cup of tea. I'm more of a Street Profits guy. I even like DIY. Motor City Machine Guns are an amazing tag team. But right now it's the Wyatt Sicks time, and they just got the titles off of Street Profits. So their reign will continue, and we'll see what great story that they have set up for them next. Next, we have the Women's Intercontinental Championship match between Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. And if Lyra Valkyria loses, she can no longer challenge Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. This was a no count out, basically it was a no DQ match. And this was the night of gimmick matches. Lyra and Becky have amazing chemistry. They're better enemies than they are friends. And with that, what we have is this match was not the best of their three. This match, I give them A for effort. They did a lot. They tried to make everything different. They told a lot of stories with Lyra being zip tied, right? And you had kendo sticks and crowbars, and you had like all kinds of chaos and action. But some of the stuff felt like it just was too involved. Like it had too much going on. There was what's all in the toolbox, and do you have it just felt a little bit too busy when it didn't need to be, when their best matches were just bell to bell, them showing their skills and their technique. Um Lyra is fantastic. I'm grateful that she's getting to work with people like Becky and Bailey because they're two of the best in the business. And Lyra is going to be a future world champion. I believe that, just like they said on commentary. However, I think that this match was good, but if you watch the other matches, you came away with a better feeling. In this match, I was a little disappointed to see Bailey come out. Like you felt like she was gonna come out, but she did, and she tried to stop Becky Lynch from basically killing Lyra Valkyria with the crowbar. But in doing so and getting involved, it's turned into like a handicap match almost. But then Bailey ended up accidentally hitting Lyra Valkyria in the face with a chain, and then Becky Lynch picked up the pin, the manhandle slam, couldn't overcome it. 1, 2, 3, Becky Lynch retains, and now Lyra can no longer challenge. So I guess now Becky and Lyra go back to feuding. And I think this is going to be good for Lyra's character development because Becky has brought the best out of her. And I think that as long as people can start to see Lyra Valkyria's personality shine through, then she's going to be a made star. So I don't think it's all is lost and things are in despair. It's just a matter of Lyra getting her time, and then Becky Lynch is going to bring some shine to that Women's Intercontinental Championship. And and that's all there is to that. Next, we have Fatu. The Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu, challenging for the United States Championship with his cousin Solo Sikoa. This match, I'm gonna just be real with y'all. I'm not a fan of cage matches, and I haven't been for a very long time. I'm not gonna go all the way Jesse the Body Ventura with it. uh, with his just being so super appalled that somebody could just walk out of the cage and win the match. But what I'm gonna say is that cage matches for me are like they just kind of pointless. I'm not gonna pretend they're just kind of pointless because people are still gonna interfere, and that's what ended up happening here. Because it doesn't have a top. Solo Sikoa had his MFTs come down here and get involved. And by MFTs, I mean Tongaloa, Talatanga, and JC Mateo, or who they just call JC. And it was essentially again a handicap match. JC wouldn't let Solo or wouldn't let Jacob Fatu escape the cage. Jacob did everything that he could in this match, but they slammed the door in Jacob's face when he tried to escape. At the end of the day, Jacob couldn't overcome all of the odds, and he ended up succumbing to Solo Sikoa. I love Jacob Fatu as a personality and as a people. You can see the crowd rocks with him. Jacob Fatu as one of the most authentic people that they have in that company, because people can sense that he's not being anything but himself. And he's wildly entertaining. He's going to be a future world champion. The biggest spot in the match, or what came place after the match, which was him doing a moonsault off top of the cage. What really impressed me the most, if we being real right now, is how he just hopped back to his feet. Like Tama Tonga, oh, of course, shout out to real life. You do what you want with it. I'm a busy man. So Jacob Fatu did a moonsault off the top of the cage, and this man hopped up like as if nothing happened. I feel like I've seen Kurt Angle almost die doing this moonsault. But also, he missed the moonsault. Nobody was there to catch Kurt Angle. Uh, so Kurt Angle's in the position he's in because he's done a lot of crazy bumps. But Jacob Fatu, at least he landed on Tamatanga and JC Mateo and sent the fans home happy in that way. But Jacob Fatu, honestly, to me, he doesn't need the U.S. title. It's good that he won it, but Jacob can do a lot more. And I'm curious to see where he goes without messing with Solo and the MFTs. It's sad. People are calling the MFTs like the Spirit Squad, like the Samoan Spirit Squad, which is not something like. Shout out to Kenny Dykstra and shout out to Dolph Ziggler, aka Nick Nemeth, that's working right now in TNA. Nick Nemeth is a two-time world champion. He was a former TNA champion. So it's no slight against the talents, but in terms of like them looking like goofballs and not being taken like a serious threat, that's kind of what the MFTs are giving right now. And so I can't be mad at people feeling how they feel about them. So if Jacob Fatu can get away from that and start doing things that are outside of like that, the watered down, bloodline story that we're in right now, then it could be great things for him. Solo Sikoa is funny. He's entertaining. But we need something more for Jacob Fatu. So shout out to his ascent to the top. Even in defeat, he still looked good. So that's what matters here. And we're going to move on to the next match. Next, we have the Intercontinental Championship match between Dirty Dominik Mysterio defending his title against AJ Styles. Let me say this. Eddie Guerrero is alive and well. His spirit lives throughout the entire wrestling business, period. Man, AJ Styles came out dressed up like Eddie Guerrero in a lowrider with a 2005 version of Dominik Mysterio in the passenger seat, played by his son with the blonde hair. This guy came out with Eddie Guerrero tights, came out in the gear. Everything from 2005 when Dominik Mysterio was in the ladder match in a custody of Dominik Mysterio match against Rey Mysterio in the summer of 2005. So 20 years later, he's playing mind games with this. And I thought that this was fantastic. In the six-man ladder match earlier, I didn't mention how Rey Fenix and Andrade were doing the Three Amigos to show love and respect to Eddie Guerrero. AJ Styles came out here dressed like Eddie Guerrero. Dominik Mysterio has this whole thing with like his alleged father is Eddie Guerrero instead of Rey Mysterio because Rey's a deadbeat dad. The whole thing, Sasha Banks does the Three Amigos because she loves, or excuse me, Mercedes Moné does the Three Amigos over in AEW. There's just there's so much, and I just laughed because I said Chavo Guerrero must be sick to his stomach. He's been on record an infinite amount of times, not trying to embellish, but he doesn't like the use of the Guerrero name. He feels like it's overplayed, and even with Rey Mysterio, it has a weird relationship with how he talks about how Rey tries to keep Eddie's name alive. And I will that's family business. I'm not gonna get too much into it. I tried to make light of it on my TikTok channel, but the point is Eddie Guerrero's not going anywhere. I feel like Eddie Guerrero is probably the most imitated wrestler in this time for sure. Of all time, no, but for right now, his name and his legacy for this generation, it transcends time. Even Liv Morgan does it in homage to Dominik Mysterio, who's doing it in homage of Eddie Guerrero. So anyway, Eddie Guerrero is alive and well. um, wait, no, this championship. This is the WWE Championship that he won. This is another reason why this is my favorite title, because all of my favorites held this joint right here. So shout out to Eddie Guerrero. But Dominik Mysterio pulled a trick out of the hat from WrestleMania 20 when Eddie Guerrero was facing Kurt Angle and defending the WWE Championship. This WWE Championship, he unzipped his boot while Kurt Angle had the ankle lock on. He what's the word I'm looking for? While Kurt Angle had the ankle lock on, Eddie Guerrero unzipped his boot so that the boot would come off and he could shake it off and roll Kurt Angle up to retain the title. Kurt Angle was pissed then. AJ Styles had a little bit more lightheartedness when it came to it, because he gave Dominik Mysterio credit at the end of the match. He was like, you know what? I guess this alleged 20-year vet, he's smarter than he looks, and he has been studying and things like that. I love that the crowd is so receptive of Dominik Mysterio. He gets better in the ring every time. But with the Three Amigos, with his timing, he didn't look like he was a fish out of water. He didn't look like AJ Styles was so far ahead of him. AJ Styles is one of the GOATs. He's one of the vets. He's only got so much time left on his contract too. So I'm not surprised or disappointed that AJ didn't win the Intercontinental Championship. I thought he might have, but I thought the Judgment Day was all going to lose their titles tonight, but it wasn't to be. Dominik retains, and I'm more than okay with that because AJ Styles already put in a bunch of time in the business. He even put over the new TNA X Division champion. I'm forgetting his name right now, which is terrible. But AJ Styles is a benchmark of the wrestling community, and he's highly respected. And I love that he's putting over the next generation because that's what it's all about. He ain't going to be here forever, and none of the vets are. So you got to make the talent around you look good. And that was the end of that. So now we have the main event. The match that everybody's been waiting for. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, challenging John Cena, the never seen 17, for the WWE Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. John Cena, 2 nights before SummerSlam, turns babyface. John Cena's been a heel. He turned on the fans with The Rock and Travis Scott. It was one of the most iconic moments in wrestling history, but it was just that, a moment. It's clear that WWE didn't have any long-term plans for John Cena's heel run, and they washed it all away. They retconned it by Cody Rhodes getting into the ring with John Cena on SmackDown, telling him that, what's the word I'm looking for? 2 weeks prior, John Cena said that he needed a mental health day, that he couldn't do SummerSlam. He was exhausted. He's shooting movies. I just can't do it. I can't make it. And Cody Rhodes was like, I'm not having this. And he beat him down and he put him through a table and he forged John Cena's signature while he was unconscious to make sure this match was going to happen. And John Cena came out on SmackDown and said that pretty much, not threw The Rock and Travis Scott under the bus, but he did say that, these the people that I had around me, they're all gone, and the only I only have myself to stand in this ring with, and the only platinum rapper that's gonna be whooping your ass is me. And he didn't say Travis Scott's name, he didn't say The Rock's name, but people know that Rock and Travis abandoned the storyline, and it just didn't make John Cena's heel turn make a whole lot of sense. It could have been masterful, but they decided to wipe it all away. And he thanked Cody Rhodes for bringing him back to reality and did like what a good friend should and beat some sense into him. So now he was getting the real John Cena. And when I tell you right now, John Cena wrestled like this was his last big match. John Cena's matches since his return, even this match washed the stink off of the finish of WrestleMania 41. That main event match was horrible. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But you took these same 2 men, you put them in a street fight. John Cena wrestled like 2015 John Cena with the US Open Challenge. He wrestled like, I'm going to make a comparison. Lil Wayne's one of my favorite rappers of all time. Everybody knows this about me. But also, Lil Wayne, you got the Drop 3 Lil Wayne. You got No Ceilings Lil Wayne. You got Carter 2 Lil Wayne. You even have Carter 3 Lil Wayne. And you have the Leak Lil Wayne. You have Peak Wayne, right? Just the way you say when you have Peak Cena. Lil Wayne sometimes drops music that is like, what are we doing? Well, what are we doing right now? We know what you're capable of, and you just playing. And that's what John Cena matches can be sometimes. It's like you acknowledge their greatness and things like that, but it's like we've seen you do better. You know it could be better. John Cena wrestled like his life depended on it. Like this man knew he was going on vacation for 6 months, and that's what I love about this match. This match was a masterpiece. This was a mat class. Cody Rhodes don't have bad matches, and I love that John Cena was able to give people on this last big stage because SummerSlam is like WrestleMania Part Two. At least that's how they present it. Big stage, 2 nights. They did everything from these spots. There were so many false finishes in this match. I was ready for the crowd to start chanting AEW. I'm not BSing you. It just seemed like this match would not end. John Cena did a not multiple AAs, but then he did an avalanche AA, and then Cody Rhodes still kicked out. When Cody Rhodes hit his finishers, did his triple crossroads, did a bunch of Cody cutters, when he was kicking out, people were cheering. They were chanting Super Cena. If you've been watching wrestling as long as I have, Super Cena was a derogatory term because this man would kick out of everything and he just wouldn't stay down. And fans were sick of it because they're just like, yo, this man, like, when can somebody else get a chance against John Cena? And this was John Cena turned back the hands of time. And it was good because it was like it started to become like Superman versus Superman. I was sitting there watching this match like after the Super AA and Cody Rhodes still kicked out. I was like, what's the finish? What is it gonna take? These people unscrewed. Cody Rhodes unscrewed the bottom turnbuckle with the steel part, and I've been taking rings apart now since I've been doing work at some independent wrestling promotions. And he hit John Cena in the head with it. John Cena wouldn't stay down for nothing. He finally puts John Cena away after doing a super Cody cutter from the top rope through the table. And then John Cena almost got up immediately after that. I said, this is crazy. What am I watching? What am I watching? Then Cody Rhodes salutes John Cena as his back is turned as he's picking himself from the ropes. Hit him with a Cody cutter. 1, 2, 3. Cody Rhodes is the new WWE champion. They embrace in the ring. John Cena basically hands Cody Rhodes the torch. It's like, you're the guy. He gives him the championship. The crowd is, he gives, they share, some words. And if you could read lips, you could tell what was said. And then Cody Rhodes gives John Cena the floor. John Cena is watching the adulation, from the crowd, is getting thank you Cena chants. That would have been a perfect ending. That would have been perfect. You didn't need to do anything else after that. But no. But no. But no. You know what ended up happening? That guitar riff is gotta be playing in John Cena's nightmares. Brock Lesnar comes back after being absent for 2 years. I don't know what Brock Lesnar's beef is with John Cena. Brock Lesnar comes back every 2 years to destroy John Cena. I don't know what it is. John Cena got his finishing move called the AA, which was formerly known as the FU, from Brock Lesnar's F5 when they were feuding in 2003. 10 years later, Brock Lesnar comes back to WWE in 2012 after being gone from doing a UFC stint, walks around the ring, circles like a shark, F5s the hell out of John Cena and kicks his hat. They get into a brawl the next week, elbows John Cena. He's bloody, looks like a real fight, legitimate stuff. And then now 2025, Brock Lesnar returns after 2 years. Now, F5's John Cena. The crowd is shocked. They had reactions from Metro Boomin on the outside. You had reactions from a bunch of other people on the outside, like couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I legitimately did not. There was no rumors on the internet about Brock Lesnar. Matter of fact, I watched an interview with Daniel Cormier when he was interviewing somebody else in UFC, and he said that Brock Lesnar is banned from TKO right now because he's in hot water. And why is Brock Lesnar in hot water? Because he was named in the Janelle Grant lawsuit against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE as somebody that was basically, Janelle Grant was going to be used basically as a sex toy, basically for being in this position. And there was text messages that was explained between Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar, almost using her as a bargaining chip to re-sign Brock Lesnar to WWE. That's the why Brock Lesnar hasn't been on TV in 2 years. I'm not some super journalist that I'm like, I had to go dig in a cave to find out what really happened. This is public knowledge. This is public news. So Brock Lesnar's been off of TV in the quiet while this thing has been ongoing, but the case is ongoing. The case isn't closed. So we didn't expect to see Brock Lesnar on TV. I don't know what the developments of the case have been thus far or what's changed. But it seems like with WWE, their main focus is rinsing the stink out of people's mouths when it comes to not only the John Cena heel turn, but is him being on his last run. John Cena is being booked against people that he has an extended history with, doing a callback to some of his greatest rivals. Brock Lesnar is one of John Cena's greatest rivals, and I understand from a story perspective and from a purely entertainment aspect, I understand the why. But there are going to be a lot of people that are upset that Brock Lesnar's back. And some people, maybe even, triggered by seeing Brock Lesnar be like, damn, this company doesn't really care about like victims and things like that. And that's a whole other conversation that we could have on another podcast. But I'm just here to give you the facts of what happened. And it sucks that it seems like, and this is what I have to tell people all the time, it would be amazing if every entertainment company, and this isn't me diluting anything, this is just the truth. Certain grocery stores that you shop at, certain companies that you watch, certain things that you fund, there's people that are in positions of power that make decisions that you ain't gonna like. And their stances are for you and some for me like deplorable. But then if you took a stance on everything, what do they say? Stand for something or fall for anything. I know where my stances are, and I know it's just, and for a lot of things, it's complicated. And I say complicated only in the way of the only way to me to be completely absolved of any being connected with anything or anyone that did anything wrong would be to grow my own food in my garden and then to make my own clothes because somebody in a high position of power is usually doing something nefarious. And this shout out to all the activists out there. Shout out to the shout out to all of the people that have really been hurt and damaged by people that they've experienced something similar in a workplace environment that was akin to a Janelle Grant that have to genuinely recover from psychological damage and trauma and all of those things. Those things shouldn't be swept under the rug. In that same vein, I accept that certain businesses are going to continue to be run how they're going to be run. It don't mean I have to agree with it. I personally don't like how certain things are swept under the rug. People keep saying keep politics out of wrestling, and but then on the jumbotron at SummerSlam, you got Triple H shaking hands with the Commander in Chief right now. It's supposed to be for a Make America Fit Again, but right now all of those things and everybody in that space is in a political hot seat, and you can see why. And I'm thank you so much, Solid Monster, for reminding me of this. PR wise, you can see why they got rid of the media scrum post SummerSlam, and they just left it to the post show because they know that the conversation around Brock Lesnar and the questions about the Janelle Grant lawsuit and Vince McMahon are going to come up, and Triple H has shown in the past that when it comes to fielding these questions his go-to answer is I'm just going to focus on the positive. I'm just going to focus on, I don't want to get into the negativity. I want to focus on business. We had the largest gate. It always goes back to money. It goes back to fans being entertained. And you're not going to get Paul McMahon to flip on his dad in public. That man's name on paper is Paul Levesque, but he was raised by Vince McMahon, and that is his dad. And that's who raised him. And so for me, I'm not expecting Triple H or Paul McMahon or Paul Levesque to say anything that's going to go against who groomed him to be in the position that he's in right now. But we're going to see how they handle the scrutiny that comes with the return of Brock Lesnar. So on one end, you have the entertaining aspect of it and the shock factor and the news of like, oh my gosh, Brock Lesnar. I get it. But then on the other end, you're going to have some fans that are going to be turned off and kind of grossed out about it. And then so they're gonna have to deal with it, and we're gonna see what comes in the months to come when it comes to Brock Lesnar, how he's being booked, what that means for John Cena's run. At the end of the day, again, all of these guys are friends. They work together. when there was a dinner, when Vince McMahon had a dinner, John Cena and Brock Lesnar were the ones that showed up to the dinner. Because they still view him as like somebody that did wonders for their life, made them tons of money, made them millionaires, gave them the lives that they have. So they have a sense of loyalty to him in spite of whatever he has going on. So that's the world that we live in. And all my job is to make people aware of what's going on and to not insult you guys' intelligence, not to tell you what to do or think or feel, but to give you information and not insult your intelligence. I am very much excited to see what's going to happen on Monday Night Raw with the fallout of this. But I also have to work a show that I'm on my way to right now. It's called New Peace Mondays, and I host that every first Monday at Vink's Coffee. This is a wrestling podcast, but I am your host with the most, your artist working the hardest, Mr. McKinnon. I'm always winning for a reason. Shout out to Yonar Media and Kraken Law Group sponsoring this episode. This is episode 7 of the Main Event Mindset Podcast. I cannot wait to talk to you guys on the next episode. Peace be with you. Peace and love. God bless. All of the things. I'm out.